Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Neptune conjunct one's natal midheaven. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve Neptune, they can be about dissipation, dissolving, idealism, inspiration, hope, deception, and duplicity. When transit Neptune conjoins one's natal midheaven, well, this could manifest in some dissolving, dissipation, idealism, inspiration, hope, deception, duplicity. It could be in matters with one's career or vocation. It might be something where one might be guilty of self deception and thinking that they could attain something in their career or stature in life that might simply be unrealistic, but it could also give very strong inspiration in doing so. Now, and also given, in one may be very inspired and have hope in terms of improving their social status and stature in life. If this is in, Aquarius, say it could be something through astrology, doing work on the internet, astronomy, information technology, computers, electronics, innovation, and also too. Midheaven is connected with notoriety, exposure, and recognition. So in some cases, it could be about the dissolving of one's notoriety or what they, maybe certain fame they may have attained, but it could also be about being more inspired to attain this. Remember, when you have conjunctions in astrology, they can be neutral. This could either be something that it could actually be very positive with matters and hope and idealism and one's being very inspired in one's career. Um, but it could also be something too where it could also be the dissolving of it. A lot of it can be predicated and dependent on the aspects that this transit makes to other points in one's natal chart. Now, another thing too is that the midheaven is connected with the dominant parent, which is usually the father. So in some cases, it could be that this person might be more deceptive or duplicitous than usual, or you may see a side of this person that's more forgiving or passive at this time. Could even be where it could be where you're having trouble seeing any flaws or shortcomings in this person, and that could also apply and pertain to older people and people that are in position of authority, such as somebody that might be a boss or a supervisor if you're in a subordinate or subservient role at your position where you're working. It could be a time where you're having trouble seeing any negative in this person. You might be putting him or her on a pedestal. And also, the midheaven is connected with our public image and our reputation. So it might be getting a public image or reputation for doing something Neptune related, which can include the metaphysical, which includes astrology, or could be doing something with poetry or dancing, or even a person that's very altruistic, compassionate, or self sacrificing. Now, another thing, sometimes it could be about the dissolving of one's reputation. If something merges, like a criminal record or something that you may have had in some isolated cases, then that could obviously manifest in this your reputation, public image may be being diminished or deteriorating. Now, another thing too is that the midheaven is also connected with the government and politics. So it might be something where you might have some kind of inspiration or idealism doing something with the government, doing something with politics. It might be something too where maybe the person that you might be supporting you might be seeing that person as more deceptive or duplicitous. Um, Maybe it's at a time where maybe your interest in that might be dissolving and dissipating as far as government and politics go. And also to remember that your Neptune can be connected, with lethargy. It might be a time too where maybe that lethargy might be playing a role to some degree, maybe in you taking care of responsibilities, or it could be some kind of Neptune related responsibility you may have to take care of. It could be something with metaphysical, which includes astrology. could be poetry or dancing or helping those less fortunate than yourself, such as the impoverished, the oppressed, the homeless, the hungry. Um, it could be a time too when you look at this as well. It could also be about being inspired to attain a position of authority. If you're in a subordinate or subservient role, maybe this is some hope in terms of getting out of that situation and finding something where you might be in some kind of management position and something of that nature. It can also be a time where maybe you're trying to make business dreams maybe manifest into some kind of reality at this time as well. I would also say the midheaven is also connected with structure and discipline because it is the house that corresponds with the zodiac sign Capricorn. So this could be a time where you might be more inspired and hopeful in terms of attaining greater structure and discipline in your life, but at the same time it also could be about that dissolving or dissipation of that. So anyway, now, another way this could manifest and pan out, it could also be about, there might be some confusion or ambivalence over one's career path. At this time, it might be where your career situation might be somewhat nebulous and unclear. Say if this is going back to the zodiac sign Aquarius, if this is an Aquarius as an example, maybe this is a time too where it might be, it could be maybe confusion over whether to pursue some kind of astrological career or astronomy or something with innovation or information technology as some examples. It might be more, you might feel more inspired to express those qualities that you can't suppress. Remember that the fourth house is connected, is more private, it's our home life, but the 10th house is what we want, we often bring about publicly, and it could be that side that you have difficulty hiding or suppressing no matter what you try to do. And say if this is in Pisces as an example, it could be maybe it's a side that might seem somewhat oblivious to transgressions or overlooking transgressions or defaults of others, a person that might be very self-sacrificing and forgiving and maybe have a very passive side to ambivalent and passive side to him or her in very dreamy nature that's really harder to express than usual. Now it might be and inspired to do so, I should say, but the thing about it is too, it can also be that you might be oblivious or overlook the transgressions and defaults of 10th house people, such as people in authority, superiors, supervisors, the dominant parent, which is often the father, older people. It could be people that are in government or politics that you might support. Now, another thing too, if you're like a person at this time and you're having these dreams about maybe becoming famous and gaining some kind of acclaim or notoriety or recognition, that lethargy might play a role in that. You have to be careful when you have a transit like this. I mean, Neptune is a lot about dreaming and not acting upon things. And it could also be especially safe. This is making an adverse aspect to your natal Mars in your chart. You might have something where you might feel more like fantasizing and daydreaming about these things rather than taking action on it. And that could even apply if it's making an adverse aspect to your ascendant or your sun, because those two astrological proponents could be connected with vitality and energy as well. When you have the transit of Neptune hitting the midheaven, in many cases it will be squaring the sun, or at least will be sometime in the near future. Now, I'm sorry, squaring the natal ascendant at some point in the near future, if it's not squaring it at that time of the conjunction. Now, another thing too is that this could be, again, it could be about dreams, about becoming famous, because Neptune can be connected with sleep and dreams, and it could be, say, if this transit falls in Aries, it could be about doing something with a combative sport, such as karate, kickboxing, or mixed martial arts, wrestling. It could be something where, or doing something with arson investigation or working with the military as another example if this transit falls in Aries. But also too, and it might be a time where you might feel not really up to taking care of responsibilities, a little bit more lethargic as far as those matters go, more so than usual. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, I mean, in Taurus, as an example, it could be maybe you don't really feel like taking care of matters pertaining um, responsibilities that are monetary, that are connected with possessions, resources, maybe even something with agriculture or cultivation, gardening. Some examples. Now, it might be a time too where you might feel more inclined or greater propensity to isolate yourself from the limelight. Neptune can be connected with isolation. Limelight is the 10th house. It's connected with notoriety, recognition, and exposure. It could be something Neptune related. It could be maybe a Neptune, somebody uh, might be Neptune related, might help you get exposure. It might be somebody, in a less fortunate situation, like such as somebody that's impoverished, homeless, or hungry, or facing oppression, or it could be something Neptune related, which might give you some exposure, notoriety. It could be something with the metaphysical, which includes astrology, poetry, dancing, photography, chemistry, doing something with pharmaceutical work. There might be some award or some accolades you may receive for one of those things if you're involved in those professions. Now, another thing too, this could also manifest in some isolated cases, is dealing with the dominant parent, which is often the father, as one that might be alcoholic or succumbing to some kind of drug use, or the connection with this person might be dissipating and dissolving at this time as well in some cases. Now, it could also be if you have some kind of prison record. In the isolated cases that this may be true, then it might come to light at this time, because again, the 10th house could be energy that is very hard to suppress or contain or hold back. And things often, when you have transits that hit the 10th house, things associated with the planet hitting that house can often come to light at that time if they had been hidden or suppressed. Now, it could also be, and really that's what I have to say as far as this transit goes. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.